What do you think about when you hear the word fat? Sylvia is going to explain on RV Healthy. Hey, I'm Andy McCaskey from RVNN TV, and thanks for joining us here on RV Healthy. Our host, of course, Sylvia Tarnuzzer. Sylvia, what a great day it is here. Almost holiday time.
Almost holiday time. I tell you, I think we're in the holidays. Commercials are already coming up on the television, so
well,
must be holiday season.
It must be holiday season, and of course that is the time of the year for fatty foods. But maybe we ought to talk about that a little bit. What is fat?
Well, I tell you, fat has such a negative connotation, and a lot of people think fat is, the size of a person or some of the horrible foods that we eat. But I want to not only share some of the negative sides of fat, but also the positive sides of fat, because fat is in every cell of our body. And we need fat. We need fat to survive. So we're gonna share some good sides of fat as well.
Okay. Well, obviously, the excessive body weight comes to mind, but I just think of a nice, really juicy hamburger and kind of the fat rolling off of that. An essential ingredient, though, in the diet, right?
Well, the essential ingredient in the diet is in the form of some of the good fats that we need. But there's 4 primary fats that we need to talk about. So one is trans fat, and that is the worst fat that there is. One is saturated fat, one is unsaturated fat, and the other is a dietary cholesterol. Okay. So let's kind of go through each one of these a little bit more in depth. So the dietary cholesterol, many times people don't realize that we have fat in our bodies, which, that's pretty common. But the dietary cholesterol this is the fat we're bringing in from outside sources. So this is the cholesterol we're bringing in from the foods that we eat.
So does cholesterol come into the system regardless of the type of fat, or are certain fats maybe worse than others?
Yeah, cholesterol is actually produced in our bodies on a day-to-day basis, even without bringing in outside factors such as food. But the foods that we eat will determine the type of cholesterol we're putting into our bodies from our dietary sources. So it's real important that we know and understand the fat that is out there so that we're putting in the good cholesterol. We're bringing in some of those good cholesterols, which we can talk about in a future episode, but the polyunsaturated and the monounsaturated fats, which is your good cholesterol.
Okay, but if there were a wanted poster out in the post office, trans fats would be the top of the list, right?
Trans fat would be at the top of the list, and the simplest way we can pretty much talk about trans fat is if you are eating any of the processed foods, you are bringing in trans fat. You're going to start to see some packaging out there that says 0 trans fat, but you need to be extremely cautious. We did an episode one time about label reading. If you see 0 trans fat, I want you to take one extra step and look at the ingredient list, because the USDA can actually put 0 trans fat out there if it's less than ½ a gram per serving. Many of our boxed foods out there have more than 1 serving. So you could actually be getting trans fat when you think you've purchased a box of something that says 0 trans fat. So be careful, look at your ingredient list, and it will have a trans fat such as hydrogenated oils listed in the ingredient list.
So
this is the worst.
Why do fast food restaurants use this stuff if it's so bad?
Good question. It uses it because it gives a longer shelf life. So, most of our fast food restaurants, most of our packaged foods, they need that longer shelf life. So they brought in these hydrogenated oils, these trans fats, to give those packages, those foods, those ingredients a longer shelf life. But those are the ones that cause that sticky stuff in your arteries If you have heart disease that runs in your family whatsoever, or you have any fear of heart disease, you need to cut the trans fat out of your diet.
Yeah.
As much as possible.
So back to the example of the tasty cheeseburger. Would that have trans fat in it, or is that a different type of fat that maybe is not as hard on your body?
Good question. That cheeseburger could have trans fat, especially if it's a fast food cheeseburger, but it also has another bad fat called saturated fat, which is another fat that you want to stay away from. Those are the fats that will, again, have some artery clogging factors to it. So that's kind of that third bad fat, if you will. So you want to make sure to stay away from saturated fat, limit your saturated fat intake. That is in the form of dairy, butters, cheese. Cheese, in fact, is dairy, but the cheeseburgers, those types of things has your saturated fat in it.
Okay. Well, you've taken out several of my favorites there, being cheese and burgers and presumably fries. But I'm really disappointed to see chocolate on the list. Isn't there
chocolate as well? Yes,
isn't
chocolate.
there some exception, some paragraph that we can refer to here?
Yeah, you want to make sure that you're getting the best dark chocolate and limit your amounts that you're eating. So that it is a better form of chocolate for you.
Yes, and actually one of the things that I've noticed personally is once you get used to that high, to the better chocolate, that the Halloween candy and sweets of that sort just don't have the flavor.
It does. You just have to acquire a taste for it and cut out some of the garbage fats, if you will.
Yeah, I think
so. We're going to do an episode in the near future that really is eye-opening, and I think that this some of these topics can get a little boring. So hopefully this will be a little bit more interesting for people.
Exactly. Well, now one of the things that you did talk about was healthier fats. So what's the direction here?
Okay, so let's pretty much end with a really good fat. What fat do we need to feed our brains and to feed those cells in our body that do need good fat? And that is the unsaturated fat. These are the fats that are found in your omega-3 and omega-6, the actual good salmon, good fish high in omega-3. It is also the fat that is found in avocados. The fat that's found in olive oil, extra virgin canola oil, really making sure that you're bringing in some of these good fats. Those plant-based fats, such as your nuts and seeds and so forth, are also a really good fat that you want to bring into the body.
Okay, so if you have a peanut butter taste, if it's natural peanut butter, is that off the list, or where does that fit into the recommendations?
No, there's actually some really good peanut butter out there that is strictly made from peanuts without any added items to it. So make sure your ingredient list is very, very short. It really should just say natural or organic peanuts. I would go one step further for organic peanuts. Yeah,
so as long as the list says ingredients, peanuts, you're in good shape then, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, I understand.
And a lot of people will make, I have a severe peanut allergy, so we don't have anything peanuts or peanut butter related in our house. But what I did find the other day, because my husband, I was trying to get him to eat breakfast. He's a diabetic, and we need to get him some food to eat in the morning time. And I was making some oatmeal, and that was getting a little boring. Well, we found a sunflower butter, and all it is ground sunflower seeds. And this is something that I can make him a sandwich for the morning with some homemade jam and some sunflower butter. And he really likes that. But all it is sunflower seeds ground. You can do the same thing with almond butter. There's a lot of great almond butters out there if you don't have, if you have a peanut allergy or anyone in your family has a peanut allergy. You can do the almond butters.
Okay, or
it's a good fat.
If you just really like almond butter, it's we've certainly developed a taste for that around our house as well. Well, we've had a little bit of technical challenge getting set up here because you've got a demo for us. What are you going to show us here today about fats?
Well, we're going to show this for our next episode. So we've got a teaser for that.
Oh no, I thought it was on this
for
one.
The next episode, Andy. So you're going to have to watch the next episode.
Okay.
And it really is kind of eye-opening because I want people to understand how much fat they're really getting into their day-to-day habits, driving through a fast food restaurant or snacking on a Snickers candy bar. So that's the teaser for the next episode.
Okay. Well, in summary, you need to make sure that you limit your food intake of those bad fats as much as you possibly can to make sure that you're healthy on the road. Now, don't forget.
And just remember
Go ahead.
The unsaturated fat is what you want to bring into your diet. So any plant-based fat, any nuts, any avocados, any of the good olive oils, things like that. Bring more of those into your diet and less of the other.
Excellent, excellent. Don't forget that you can find a number of very interesting photographs on our Pinterest account at the RVNN TV's Pinterest account. The section of that is the RV Healthy Board. Also, remember that you can follow us on Twitter and Facebook, but on Twitter, you can use the hashtag RVHL, and that will enable you to send information, send questions to Sylvia, and also give your comments on the demo that she's going to have coming up on the next episode. Sylvia, thanks so much for joining us here today, and thank you for joining us on RV Healthy.
Hey Gabe, wanna go for a walk? Gabe? Gabe? Gabe?
Hey, buddy, you lost? Hold on.
If your pet is the adventuresome type, be sure he's connected to PetHub. A quick scan using any smartphone shares your pet's vital information so that even his wildest escapades have a happy ending. PetHub, reuniting pets with their families.
Come on, Gabe, let's go home.